So the police did everything they could to throw obstacles in my path. Then there was a small article in the paper about two other girls, aged 13 and 14, that were taken from Des Moines about the second week of September after Johnny's kidnapping. The girls were found over in Omaha. The men fit the same description as the ones that took Johnny. And the girls were found in prostitution that they were put into over there, but they were rescued and brought back to Des Moines. Okay. I took that article to the police chief, and I asked him if he would please call Robert Wadman, who was the police chief of Omaha, and ask about it, since Omaha was only 2 hours away, and the men fit the same description. The police chief looked at me, and he said, no, he says, I don't have a feel for that. So then I went to the FBI office. No, they wouldn't. I went to the state police called the DCI here. They wouldn't either. So then I called the press, and I did a press conference. And I wanted to ask the public for their help and demand to know why none of these agencies would at least make a phone call to Omaha to check on the facts in that case to see what else might match our case. Within an hour after I did that press conference, I received a phone call. It was a man with a raspy voice, and he said, if you don't quit rocking the boat, you're going to die. And that was my first death threat. And so I sat there and I thought, okay, what boat did I rock? The only one I can think of is that I pointed the finger towards Omaha, Nebraska, way back in the day before the Franklin scandal broke. And they were terrified that I might actually find something. And they had to try to stop me in some way, so then the death threats and other harassment began. At that point, the police chief made a press release to the Des Moines Register saying that the Gosches were nothing but damn stupid people, and that it was none of our concern to be investigating this case. And he actually swayed public opinion against us, and it became very difficult here because as rumor mills began, if you've got the police saying, don't help the family, nobody's going to help the family. And that's what he did. So with him at the helm, nothing was going right on this case. Nothing. So after a couple months of this, I called all of the members of the city council on a Friday afternoon, and I told them that on Monday morning I was filing a $20 million lawsuit for negligence and naming the police chief. By Monday morning, there was a big article in the paper with his picture that the police chief was resigning due to stress on the Gosch case. And I found out that they had an illegal city council meeting in the basement of the police department to try and decide what to do after I threatened to sue. But I did not intend to sue. My accomplishment was to get him out of office so I no longer had to deal with this man that was covering up on the case.
Unbelievable. And this occurred how long after your son was kidnapped?
That took place within probably 8 weeks after I got rid of the police chief. And then
Noreen?
About a month after the police chief was gone, he was arrested for stealing molly hooks and videotapes.
We're going to take a 3-minute break. Stay right there, and we'll be back with Noreen Gosch and Jim Rothstein. All right, we are back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal. My guest is Noreen Gosch, and Noreen has been fighting a long, hard battle after her son Johnny Gosch was kidnapped, put in a pedophile ring. And basically, in the first half hour of this show, we documented those first days, showing without question the Des Moines Police Department was in the pocket of somebody higher up, and the police chief told his men to stand down when there was solid evidence on that first day that her son had been kidnapped. The story doesn't end there. It's been a long fight ever since that September 5th, 1982 morning when Johnny disappeared. And in the meantime, I want to mention this, that Noreen is one of the few mothers in this country that has walked the walk and talked the talk. She has gone and never stopped, gone the extra mile, never stopped in the face of government harassment, in the face of death threats. She never lost sight of the fact that she wanted her son back, and she knew that something higher up was going on. One point in the case, a man who's been on my show and is with us now, and I want both of them to speak together on this, came to help Noreen, came to her rescue in a sense to try to put his expertise in understanding pedophile rings from many years on the New York Police Department working in this area, when he was told and basically his life was threatened for getting to the bottom of these things, and that means getting to the top of it. And he's talked about how his investigations were quashed in the same manner. Jim, are you with me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Noreen, Jim is here, and I wanted Noreen to just...
Good morning, Noreen.
Noreen, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so we got Jim and Noreen on, and Jim, we left off at a point where the police chief in Des Moines was decided to basically step down after Noreen threatened a $20 million lawsuit. We talked about this police activity in those first days. I just wanted to get your comments and about what Noreen talked about in the first half hour, what you saw as far as negligence on the part of the cops, and what really went down and how this operated. Go ahead.
Well, a number of years after that, I personally contacted at the time the person that was in charge of the so-called investigation, and he told me that nothing was done. In fact, the composite drawing that they drew up was just drawn up to pacify the people. It actually wasn't based on anything. So basically what they did was steer the investigation completely off to the side so nothing could be done. And just a couple of years ago, I met with the investigator who's now in charge of the case, and he basically told me there's nothing that's going to be done. So, and Noreen remembers when I was out in West Des Moines and met with these people because we had had a couple of meetings. So you can see that to this day, there is no investigation being done. And this happens in all these cases, or many of them at least, especially if they fall into this category that Johnny and the Martin boy and Wetterling and all these other kids were taking.
Okay, Noreen, how does Jim help you in this, understand some things? And together, I know you two are still trying to get to the truth. But go ahead, Noreen.
What was so helpful with Jim's expertise was the fact that he had, in fact, talked to the person in charge of the case at the police department and got the statement that they did nothing. It was one thing for the mom to say it, but it was very different to have absolute confirmation from another man who had been in the same profession and was a top investigator on these types of crimes. Jim has shared a lot of expertise in many situations that have come up since that time, including the latest visit with the man in charge now of Johnny's case, and also still got verification that they weren't going to do anything. That is very telling. That tells America what happened here. And it is vindication for me, for those who wanted to try to take me down or criticize because of what the former police chief had been saying about me.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, we also have this contact in the missing and exploited children, and about a year and a half ago, he told me, he says, Jim, I now have to believe what you're telling me, that there's an active protection taking place here on certain cases that are not investigated. So even the missing and exploited people know that there's something going on here. And to me, that's a complete vindication, because when they started, what was ironic, I have been called on it, and guess what? They never brought me in on it, and at the time there was nobody in this country that had as much experience in this as I did. So now we know for a fact that this is going on.